I hereby call to order the February 12th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Hanson Planning Board to order at 6:30 PM. I'd also like to announce for all those in attendance that this meeting is being recorded for distribution on Hanson Community Access. Playback times and other related information on this recording can be found at whca.tv. With that call to order, present tonight are the full planning board, as well as the planning office. That's the town planner and the administrative assistant. First item of agenda on our this evening's list is a 6:30 PM approval of the January 22nd, 2024 public meeting minutes. Any discussion in regards to the minutes? Seeing none, what is the will of the board?
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion's been made by Mr. Kemen, seconded by Mr. Cohen in regards to approval of the January 22nd, 2024, 6:30 PM minutes, or 6:30, January 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes, sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with Mr. Ellis abstaining. Mr. Ellis was absent during that meeting, just for an explanation for the meeting minutes.
Yep. Good man.
Yeah.
Review one.
Yes. We have a few minutes before our first appointment, which is at 6:35.
Yes, sir.
So in prep for our 6:35 appointment, please refer to item 2 in your packet. Which is the pedestrian improvements conceptual site plan. Did they ever get to figure out what was wrong with the projector downstairs?
No, you know what? Charlie Baker, he figured it out, but it wasn't as if we were doing anything wrong per se, but it worked for him. And somehow, I don't know exactly what he did, but it worked for him, and it's worked ever since.
Huh.
So Tony, have you looked at these plans
Yes,
very closely?
yes.
Because I can't. I mean, it's just-
I was just thinking I might have to start that.
Well, that's why.
It's half glass.
That's why when I sent it to you as a PDF, it's like, you can blow it up and kind of see. You have to. You either look at a full set, or when it's on the screen, you have to kind of obviously blow it up.
Well-
We gave it to you 8.5 by 11 just for the sake of the meeting and saving paper.
Yeah.
I have 11 by 17 if anyone wants to take a look.
Well, no, I'm just, I'm looking at it, like, I don't have my
Yeah, I
glasses
know.
with me, and I'm trying to look at, like, the nitty-gritty details,
Yeah.
of, heights and things like that, to get a better sense of it.
Understood.
But I'll just sit and listen, I'll try not to.
It's even tough to
Too
read on
much.
this set too, not gonna lie.
I like the big,
Oh, 24 by 36?
yeah,
It gets a little cumbersome though.
it does.
See, for the engineers, PDFs are one of the best things ever.
Yeah, before that it was CAD, right?
Yeah, but it was, when you had to come present at a meeting, you had to bring your easel, you had to bring
Yeah.
your board, you had to bring your,
Yeah.
if you had 23 plans in a set and you're flipping over, and you always had someone in the crowd, I can't see it, so, when you have this, it's like,
Yeah.
there it is,
Or even with CAD, you could bring a CAD file and someone would say, oh, I don't have, can I go to CAD?
Yeah.
I can't open that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Seeing the time have arrived at 6:35, we're gonna move on to our appointments. Tonight's 6:35 first appointment is pedestrian improvement grant update. Presentation will be led by Verdentis, who will provide updates and present preliminary design plans for proposed sidewalks from Elm Street to High Street. Town planner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening we have Eric DiNardo from Verdantis.
Mr. Richard.
He has been working on these plans and has come up with a conceptual design. I had presented these to the board at the last meeting, but I think Eric could probably give you a little more maybe in-depth as to what they encountered, what they have to overcome, and answer any questions the board may have as to what they'd like to see in the final product as we move through the design phase. So I'll turn the floor over to Eric.
Hi, Eric Donardo, project engineer with Verdantis. As Tony mentioned, we've been working on the concept plans, so these are 25% design plans at the moment. What we were planning on doing is basically showing the improvements on both sides as of now, but our corresponding cost estimates for the town to review is looking at both improvements on west and eastbound, and then also only improvements on westbound. Depending on, you know, the direction the town wants to do and the costs associated with it. But just at a high level, we conducted a existing conditions drone flyover, which gave us all the contours and the site features related to this area along Main Street. This stretch is about a little under 4,200 square feet. So what we did was we evaluated the cross sections every 250 feet to see the right-of-way, where the potential structures are. So we have drainage structures that are involved, as well as you know, some manholes. And then we have some utility poles along the way that are in the current location of where this sidewalk would be. So there's going to be potentially some further evaluating to see if the light pole would be relocated, if the light pole would be in the sidewalk, or if we wrap the sidewalk around the light pole. So as of now, the westbound cost estimate is $1.13 million to do this stretch. Just the westbound is $591,000 for the engineer cost estimates. Both of those include $70,000 for both engineering design services, as well as construction admin services, so the procurement process and reviewing payment applications and of the like. So really, our next plan is, once the town has a chance to review and decide on kind of the direction that they want to go, we would then actually go back out to the site with our 25% design plans to kind of see the feasibility aspect, given potential driveways, other areas of concern like the light poles that I mentioned. There's two things that are omitted during this pedestrian improvement process. We are not fully incorporating, you know, an evaluation of the stormwater infrastructure that's already in place. We're assuming that that's operating correctly with the town. And we have not yet looked into lighting along this stretch. I know that was a big concern. Tony and I and my colleague Roy Messier, while we were walking the site, we're thinking maybe box lights on some of the buildings. But there's, you know, we'll have to look into that and go along with the further utilities that would have to be provided for conduits and electrical service. But at the moment, this is kind of where we stand. The next further iterations of probably the 60% design plans would incorporate more details in terms of the actual location of openings, the ramps, the ADA ramps, whether I believe right now we're covering asphalt walkways with a concrete curb. If anything changed from the town's perspective, we could do that as well. Obviously, the asphalt and the concrete curb is less expensive than doing a concrete walkway with granite curbing, so I'm assuming that we're probably going to steer clear of that. We also, in the cost estimate that we provided, we separated out the ADA detectors, so those little yellow bumped portions that go on the ADA ramps, just as a you know, small number that we could also include in the design plans and the bidding process. But at the moment, yeah, we're really looking to the town to provide some suggestions on the route that they want to do. Also, we can modify this plan as it's showing now. We have the sidewalks on both sides. If the town requested to, you know, have portions on one side or the other, we could easily do that and connect it with a crosswalk. Obviously, that would be included in the next iteration.
So full cost, one more time, east and westbound, full cost was
1.1.
1.1, and westbound was,
591.
and then eastbound,
We did not look at eastbound only.
okay. Westbound is more residential than along the whole stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's majority residential, as opposed to the eastbound, which is majority commercial.
Actually, westbound, we're counting as the northern side, so that would be the commercials.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's westbound that has more
Traffic
commercial, less residential, it's the eastbound lane, oh, you're talking about lanes?
Yeah.
You're talking about Route 27, westbound, eastbound, okay, I got you. Eastbound is more residential,
mhm.
okay.
And the other thing to note too, we had some discussions on site. This is not factoring in any traffic-related cues or, light times associated with the light that's by the rail station. So we have not looked into that at all. We're strictly looking at the pedestrian walkways.
I don't think there's ever been a real concern about the light with the train, except for the fire department, right, with the delay in dispatching. We never had to do a traffic study on the light.
But,
It's never been, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
that's
ever
the
been a concern.
MBTA's purview anyway.
Right,
For the most part.
It's never been a major impact.
Can I ask a couple of
Yeah,
questions?
sure, Mr. Kevin.
So on the side, the east-west thing, I'm a little confused about, so just bear with me. On the Cranberry Company, there's a sidewalk there that's shorter than what a sidewalk should be. So I just wonder, is that going to be addressed?
It would be, so this would all be new, and I believe that the current sidewalk is concrete in that area as well. So
Yep.
we're looking to, all the improvements would be asphalt. So that would be removed in the event that, we're doing that side as well. We could say, and Tony suggested this, to be honest, north versus south sidewalks. So I'm assuming that's basically the south sidewalk. We could, look to tie that existing sidewalk into what we already have. We could definitely look into that, especially when we're now doing the on-site walk again,
Yep.
so that we can see, areas that are, like you mentioned, currently have a sidewalk, and maybe we could factor in a crosswalk on both ends of that section of existing
Okay.
sidewalk.
Well, my concern with that portion of the sidewalk is it's too short, right? So
Mhm.
you get, let's just imagine a woman and her husband walking down the street with a baby carriage and their dog. They're not gonna be able to fit on that sidewalk, so somebody's gonna be out in the road, right? So they're not gonna use it because it's not really usable under those circumstances. And, are those the most important circumstances? Maybe not. But I think it's worth looking at to make sure that that sidewalk is wide enough.
Understood.
For the.
So not
as
the,
wide
not
as
the, not the
rest of
length,
it.
but the width.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
5 feet is typical for
Okay.
compliance,
Its
so,
compliance is 5 feet.
yeah.
And I know that one's definitely short of that,
Mhm.
so.
So what we can do then, in this next phase is maybe looking at sections of existing sidewalk that don't meet current code and replacing those in addition to all the other improvements along this stretch.
So any roadway shifts that would be needed would
Mm-hmm.
be contemplated in that second phase. And my other one was, I know we're talking about bifurcating this project, to different sides of the sidewalk. But my concern is, ultimately, these sidewalks are gonna try to line up with phase two, which would be Crooked Place, which is on, what you call it, the south side?
it'd be the south
Yeah.
side of the
So,
layout.
what I wouldn't wanna see, if possible, is where, in order for somebody to get off the train and walk down to Crooked Place, where they're gonna have to cross over to this side of the street, and then they're gonna have to cross over to that side, back over and back and forth. So to me, that would be, kind of disappointing to spend all this money to have people having to continuously cross the roadway in order to achieve the goal of going to either Crooked Place or, to High Street to get to the Plymouth County Hospital.
So would it be fair to say that the will of the board would be preferably to say, would you want to see 2 sidewalks? Or would you want to see 1 sidewalk on a particular side of the road continuously, unless there's some type of existing feature out there that prevents that from happening?
Yeah, I guess really what I'm trying to say, I've seen this type of scenario in other towns. I took a ride around looking for ones that I thought would be interesting. I think Easton's a good example, when you go downtown, right, you get sidewalks on both sides, you get lighting. Up to Abington is another example of that, where, you don't have to keep crossing around like this, weaving across traffic in order to, traverse the entire distance of the roadway. So you can choose to take the left side or the right side. ultimately get to the end and cross over to the side that you want. So, other than that, the details are, you know,
Well, I guess it comes down to, this design right now shows a sidewalk on both sides of the road
Yep.
from start to finish.
yeah,
And as Eric has explained, one's gonna cost you $1 million, one's gonna cost you $500,000.
yeah,
So you have to look at and say, okay, do you want two sidewalks the full length, or do you want one sidewalk the full length?
Or do we want one sidewalk the full length, and then half from the MBTA down the other way, because that's walkability. We're looking
Right,
at that
you could
walkability.
have one sidewalk, one side from start to finish, if you can make it work, but you may have existing features out there, like, someone's yard or something like that, where you had the cost of, because of the topography, you having to build retaining walls or something like that.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
jump across the street type of situation.
Mhm.
So I guess, as a board, as moving forward, I think the board, if they make the suggestion, let's say the select board or something like that, because we have to, this is gonna keep moving along to different
Right.
departments, well, especially the select board, what would you like to see? I mean, obviously, I think the Cadillac is ideally two sidewalks
Yeah, absolutely.
right down the road.
Yep.
And lighting, like you said, lighting and so forth down the road, so it really creates a visual impact and the walkability from,
yeah.
unless you have a situation, like, go for the two, but if you have a situation where it's like, okay, because something is in the way, we'll have to do a jump over to get around it, versus getting into easements, trying to be, get easements from folks, or for the
Takings and all
retaining
that.
walls or takings or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
And my other quick thing is on the lighting, right? I'm wondering, like, let's say we decide, let's not do the lighting, we don't really have the money for it, right? But I believe that the infrastructure for the lighting should definitely go forward, and I say that because I've done projects where I'll come back after the fact, the roadway's all done, everything's finished, but there's conduits in the ground, so really, it's a lot cheaper and easier to put the lighting up later if
A
that's
retrofit.
required, because, there's no roadway cuts or
Great point.
damage being done, so I just wonder if that's something that we could contemplate at least,
I agree. I think that's obviously,
an option, I guess.
yeah, gives you
Yeah.
potential down the line.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Ellis?
Down by the Cranberry, the sidewalk that's down there, is that in the road layout?
In the road layout, like where it is on this
Where it
plan,
is now, or is it on the private property?
I will have to confirm once we do the site walk itself.
But that's another thing to consider.
Yep. No, you're right.
You
Well, don't we
know,
normally have an easement, like, to the edge of the roadway, 10 feet or whatever it is?
Yeah,
So I'm assuming
usually.
that, that sidewalk would be at least a town easement for the sidewalk itself.
Yes.
It's existing.
The only, and it's definitely a good point. The only thing to note with that as well, there is a section of road when we did our first reconnaissance site walk that there's a pretty steep drop off. So, that 10 feet might go away pretty quick depending on what we want to do. If we just slope that down at a typical 3-to-1, you might encroach on the 10 feet. But if you do an actual retaining wall, it might save you that 10 feet. So that's something that we'll do in terms of kind of walking through the site with this plan in hand, and basically making note of this is where that steep drop off is. How, what are we looking at in terms of potential retainage, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Ellis?
Did you look at, or if any idea what the cost would be to extend it from Elm Street to the two subdivisions on both sides? One would be the condos, and the other ones would be the residential subdivision, so that the people could walk up through there. I mean, that would kind of finish and everything for that area. Most after that, it becomes commercial.
Yeah, we did not. That was not in our original scope. We can. I don't think that would be.
yeah, I mean, the grant covers sidewalks from High Street to Elm Street. That's what it covers. After that, we'll be chasing grants for anything beyond that.
Secondary.
Yeah, so the scope of this grant is strictly Elm Street to High Street to create the sidewalks on two sides or whatever.
So do we have an amount for the grant? Do you know what that is? Like
For
how
this
much?
grant,
Yeah.
this one was it just under 100? Have to go back and look.
As far as the lighting goes, when you're going down Main Street at nighttime,
doesn't matter which direction you go in, there is a need for the town to talk with commercial business along that way to fix the lighting. You get overbleed from parking lots and flood lighting, which actually should be diffused for the parking lots. So we have kind of an overburden from a few different residential areas. You have a little bit of an overburden from the MBTA as far as lighting goes when you're coming and traveling eastbound and you're coming down into that area. So there is definitely some maintenance that we as the town should be recommending to some of the commercial property owners. As far as lighting itself goes on this particular, so this would be lower lighting, right? It wouldn't be that tier, that second tier lighting, it'd be lower lighting. It seems like all the electrical is in place. The reason why I bring up the electrical is that I noticed that a lot of the electrical are the poles themselves. So the utility companies, a lot of those poles are listing at 30 degrees or more. So I don't know if this is the same kind of opportunity to get them to correct that. Would you do that while the sidewalks are going in? Would you have to wait until they stop? And I'm not really sure what the procedure is as far as getting them to correct their poles. But there are a few of them, I counted 5 today, that are listing at a pretty significant degree. They do have some significant weight at the top of them as well. Each one of them had transformers on them. So while we're talking about lighting and the power and the utilities, as much as I'd love to be able to say, this area, the utilities all should go underground to make it all that more beautiful, I think that trying to address or at least get an answer about what happens with those poles while the project's going on. Can they come out and just straighten a pole? I don't know how that works.
Well, the utility companies, the utility companies tend to do their own thing.
Right.
I mean, we could ask them for sure, and say this, hey, listen, along the stretch of Main Street, pole number such and such, this and this. They're all listing in that we're going to do this type of project, we'd like these poles to either be straightened out or put new poles in.
Yeah.
You can ask.
Can I add to that just briefly? I worked on a project where the exact thing that you're talking about was brought up, and they were turned down by the utility. So they went to the utility commission. There's a state commission that oversees the utility, and they approached them with that idea, and that committee voted to make them do it. So there's ways around that, so it is possible to get the utility to do things that they might not want to do.
Just as you are traveling on an eastbound route, just as you pass Elm Street and you start coming into a little bit more of a commercial area, there's a pole that's listing so bad that if a tractor trailer truck was just happened to be riding in the bicycle lane, I think that the box would hit the pole. So it's just a matter of time before we have something pretty significant happening, you know?
Yeah.
So it'd just be nice to see if the utility company would be able to get involved, come down, maybe have a representative come in and talk to us and tell us what, maybe 30 degrees is okay by them.
Yeah, but to your point though as well, I mean, if we have a pole that's right in the area of our working area, we might undermine it while we're doing the work.
Exactly.
So I think that that's definitely something that we can
Yeah.
coordinate. And I'd have to check, but I mean, we could, carry something, and this is looking long-term, obviously, right?
Sure.
But we could carry something in the bid documents that would have the bidding contractor coordinate not only with the utility company, but also a subcontractor of theirs to drill in place a pole so that it's, outside the work zone and it's in good working order. So we can try to look to see that. I made note that it's about 5.
It's about 5.
But we can look into that a little bit further. We might do a little background or correspondence with the utility company now, just to make them aware of this project coming up. But then, to do the actual work, if the utility company said that it would have to be an approved contractor, we can go that route during the bidding process.
So we would definitely want to know if we authorized and we said, yeah, we're going to go for poles in the sidewalk, and there was an issue and the pole damaged the sidewalk, who's coming back to fix that? We have to figure that out. What's their take on it? What do they say?
Well, do you mind if I just mention too?
Yeah, no,
Well, I was at a conference and there was a group there selling municipal lighting, like area lighting, like the ones in Abington, along the roadway. They're just black lights, they're 12 feet tall, and they're for the walkways actually. And they tell me that, I said, well, maybe we don't have the money. And he said, you should go to your energy committee to see if they'd be willing to work on that from their grant perspective. So I wonder.
So our local energy committee is a town's energy committee?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Jim Armstrong? Jim Armstrong?
Yeah, I don't know
Matt
who's
Dyer?
on it anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be on it, but I know that they have availability of grants outside of this room, sure. So it's worth, a discussion to see if that's something, I'm sure they'd want, energy efficient lighting,
So you were talking about the ADA raised.
Panels.
Yeah, the
panels.
detector panels.
That's at the end. Did you say that you were subtracting some of those?
It wasn't in the actual
Is it-
cost estimate. It was broken out for a line item.
Isn't that not part of ADA that it has to be there?
It is, it is. It was just so the ramp is in compliance, it's just the detector in case that was gonna be done later on.
Okay.
And that's, in general scheme of things, it's $15,000, so
Okay.
it's not, and that's for both ways.
Right,
So
okay.
it's not a massive number, it was just broken out.
Yeah. So it's not omitting those?
No,
All right.
because if we omitted something, there'd be a liability.
Yeah.
exactly.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
The other thing, just want to throw out is, you guys haven't reached out to the MBTA as far as, and we have to go through there right away with the sidewalks. Have you reached out to MBTA yet?
We have not.
Because I know we're gonna have to reach out to them
Yeah.
and show them these plans and get their feedback.
Yep, we will during the 60%.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess one question, Mr. Chair, is what's the will of the board? 2 sidewalks?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
will of the board?
Yes.
Wherever possible,
So
run
go
the
for
2 sidewalks from start to finish?
So, entertain a motion for the continuance from the 25% onto the 60% with the board's recommendation of sidewalks on both sides.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mr. Benimato. Seconded by Mr. Ellis. All those, any discussion in regards
Yeah,
to that?
before we go to the vote.
Mr. Kimmett?
Are we gonna include in that the lighting as well? Like, that's our wishes to have the lighting? We
Yeah.
can wish for it, doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but, it's
Yeah.
obviously.
Or at least,
but,
lighting or the infrastructure for the lighting.
Yep, I can do that. Obviously, I can't give you that number right now.
Sure.
But I can definitely look in and break out not only the conduit, but also, the light pole, the light poles based on photometric. So we're obviously gonna have to space them a certain amount so that they have adequate lighting between the
Absolutely.
poles.
Yep.
So we'll look at that, count the number of poles, and then be able to provide that price too.
Okay.
Any other discussion in regards to the motion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great.
Yeah, if you can picture in your mind, Eric, is what I think the board and the town is looking for is a really a nice area of lighting and sidewalks and walkability, a nice streetscape. Because the whole idea with this main street is to try and revitalize it, and that's gonna happen through, obviously, you have some businesses down there and some of the construction that's going on, so there's a big, and it's part of the MBTA zoning district, so the idea is to really just create a nice walkable space for the people, the
Yeah.
residents.
No, absolutely. We will obviously have to, in terms of lighting, we'll have to kind of figure a few things out. I'm mainly speaking of that old warehouse building that kind of abuts the sidewalk right there.
Yeah.
So we might have to figure out, I don't think we can fit the poles because the sidewalk
Yeah.
goes right up against it. So we might have to maybe have box lighting along that building or something along those lines.
Yeah, right now that property's for sale, so hopefully, if there is, hopefully there's a sale and
Mhm.
some decisions by a developer for that site during this process that may help out as far as either a nice building with box lighting or the building goes away and something new that you could propose.
Yeah, I know we spoke about this before, but if that's the case, has there been any headway with the submittal process by the town, being that, the developer is subject to frontage sidewalk replacement? Because if that was sold and then you're able to, gain whatever linear footage that is, that number comes off your cost.
Well, if anything takes place there will be a site plan.
Mhm.
And so that's something that the board and myself can recommend to the zoning board, is that they review the site plans. So we could definitely make strong recommendations that be part of any of the design.
Yeah.
And can I just add one other quick thing? I know we have an economic development committee, and I know that they have availability of different resources than might be available to us. Like I know there's state funding for revitalization of downtowns and things like that. So I wonder, rather than just staying in a swim lane, and we look at it, you know, a little more broad, and the idea that maybe there's other funding sources, you know, that could be used to improve that area.
Yeah.
So, something to think about.
What I'll do now too is I'll take this and move this along with the board's permission to the select board and get this on their agenda.
Absolutely.
And show it to them.
Yeah.
As to what's going on.
Yeah, great. Thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a
See
great
you-
night.
See you at 60%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Eric.
Take care.
Moving on to our next appointment, we have a 6:50, continued discussion for improvement of private way. Applicant Bob Goslin, K&G Development Corporation, seeks a positive determination for completed work at Roller Coaster Road in conjunction with proposed construction activity at 120 Roller Coaster Road, Assessors Map 79, Lot 38. Town planner.
Mr. Goslin did get a revised stormwater management operation maintenance inspection agreement, edited with that language that the board wanted, and so he's done everything that you've asked him to do. There is a required signature, but that signature is required before a notary public, so I'm not sure if the chair wishes to, if the board wishes to vote to approve this, and then the chair wishes to come in and sign this, or direct this to the town administrator for her to sign before the notary.
What's the will of the board?
Whatever works best.
I don't mind doing either.
I don't mind you doing it.
We have a notary in Town Hall,
Yes.
so I can stop in Wednesday and do that.
So I guess the first thing is, obviously, a motion and a vote to approve that document, and then you have already the authority, but if the board just wishes, for the sake of
Sure.
procedure, giving you the ability to sign.
Can I ask a couple quick questions before we go
Mr. Kevin.
forward with this? So, you know, maybe we already discussed this, but on that project, has the stormwater management stuff already been built?
Yes.
All right, so has anyone looked at it?
Yeah, I've been out there.
Yeah, does it look good?
Yeah, it looks very good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, did a great job.
So again, this
They
is
just
one of those ones where
Did things this way.
building permit was issued before that was done. Right, I know we can't go on the Wayback Machine and change that, but I think we can change the way things are done so that isn't allowed to happen again. So
You can tell it's
that's all.
working too, so
Right.
it's, yeah, it's actually not bad. There's gonna be issues that they'll have with their own maintenance as far as leaves, but that's everybody's gonna have that.
So did you see it after a storm?
Yeah, I went out there the other day.
Okay, good.
Awesome. And entertain a motion to accept the improvement to private ways stormwater management operation maintenance and inspection agreement
So moved.
for Bob Goslin, K&G. Motion made by Mr. Kemet,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Benonato. Any discussion in regards to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'll come in Wednesday and I'll sign that. I don't know, did you guys get a snow day tomorrow?
Yeah, we have no school tomorrow.
Was it no school? You guys they closed down hall too?
Yeah, they did.
That's pretty cool.
What if it goes out to sea? You're gonna come in anyway?
Absolutely.
Moving on to board business, the next on the agenda, do we have any significant updates? We'll take this, if not, we can take this as a consent, unless anybody has anything really significant.
I have something.
Mr. Benonato, Drainage and Stormwater Committee.
Yes, we have an initial meeting on the 17th
Great.
on how to move forward, so finally starting to come together.
Great.
Could you repeat that, please, sir?
Oh, initial meeting on the 17th. May only be partly some of us, but at least initial meeting to move forward on the 17th of February.
Yeah, what time is that? Do you know what time yet?
2 o'clock.
Okay.
I can go one way or another, right? That's the tentative right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any significant updates?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. The next thing is our,
Question.
Mr. Atwood?
This is on these items here.
Yeah, on the zoning application review?
Did you get the message from Joe Weeks on the park?
No,
Really?
really, I have not heard from Mr. Weeks. unless his email went into our, I know that there was some issues with the email, but we also have if we get an email from someone, it might go into our filter, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll get a notification that there's something in the filter and I can see what it's from.
And you
And,
can accept it.
yeah, and I can accept it, and I have not seen anything from Mr. Weeks.
Yeah, he told me that he sent it that day,
Okay.
so,
At this point, I have not seen it. I'll go back through my spam folder and see if it, for some reason, I missed it, but I have not seen
I'll
it.
look into it too, to see if I can find out why it's not getting to it, because he said that he's done it.
Okay.
With I guess it's something to do with the selectmen voted for it.
Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Ellis. Moving on, we have zoning application review. So one of the things that the board had been asking the town planner to do is reincorporate a practice that had just kind of fallen by the wayside, and that was notification for us to discuss what was going before the ZBA and getting our 2 cents, I guess, getting our blessings and stuff. So thank you very much, Tony, for working that in, getting that on the agenda. We have here on our agenda this evening an application for special permit filed by Karen Patel to allow 600 square foot addition to current property along with 150 square foot lower level new space for a 1 bathroom and extra living space at 903 Main Street, map 42, lot 8B1. Secondly, we have an application for special permit filed by Brookside Realty LLC to allow for the construction of 3 new dwellings to create 2 duplexes. Existing dwelling is a 3-bedroom, and a new duplex would contain 2 bedrooms at 1407 Main Street, map 44, lot 49. Property is located within the flexible overlay zone. Let's talk about the first item that we have. Anybody have any comments in regards to that application for special permit by Ketan Patel?
Meet all regulations.
Now, the distance from the store to the proposed addition is too close. That's why they went to ZBA, but I have to be honest with you, why wouldn't they come to us first so that we could say no, and then they go to, why are we being jumped?
There's really, both these plans are not something that would come before
Okay.
the planning board.
Do you have any recommendations that you'd like to put on? Because Tony will certainly put that on record and forward that on to ZBA. No?
The septic stuff, I haven't even looked at that, but some of it looks a little, to me, it's just, there's too many things that, like relocating the shed to next to the septic, yeah, I don't know, and that's all for the health stuff anyway, so, yeah.
Tony has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony has.
So, yeah, so
Tony has
that,
a plan up on the TV.
that's the key thing here is that there's realistically, this is just if you have any comments or concerns. Other than that, none of these things fall under the purview of the planning board.
Looks like you need a shoehorn for that one.
So would you say collectively, we have a concern about that it's just too busy, too much going on?
In one site, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, it was pretty tight. If you could drive down there and look at that, right, you might as well just attach that house to the store and be done with it, because, well, how many feet are between them?
There's 10 feet
There's
at the
10 feet.
closest.
All right, well, it's not in our purview, then I guess I don't care.
Chair would entertain a motion to forward on to the zoning board of appeals with the annotation that the board is extremely concerned about the congestion and closeness of all of the distances between buildings.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Cohen,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Benonato. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Please forward that on with our concerns, Tony. Appreciate it.
Can I ask you one quick question about the wording on that, what we just talked about? Because if you think about it, right, if at some point, right, somebody decides to sell the store but not the house, right? Where's the lot line? It would be almost impossible to achieve anything that would even resemble any of our zoning bylaws you know, because if the two were separated, which, you know, someone has the right to do, someone can sell the house and not the business, or vice versa.
If someone was to subdivide this in the future and try and split the two,
Mhm.
there is under 81L, if both of these properties existed prior to the subdivision control law and they are of substantial, they're a substantial building, not a shed, but a substantial building, which obviously these two are,
Mhm.
they could create and split those two lots. They
Right.
could split it into two lots.
Mhm.
If one of these buildings or both of these buildings did not exist prior to the subdivision control law,
Yep.
then they would have a very difficult time achieving that split because they
Okay.
wouldn't be able to make the frontage requirement.
Mhm.
Now,
So
they
it-
could, the way to go through that process would be coming to the planning board with a subdivision plan and asking for a frontage waiver, and then going to the ZBA and asking for a variance.
Okay. So it's probably true that this trumps the subdivision control law, but the new building proposed addition would change that. Is that true?
No, if you have two buildings that existed prior to subdivision control, you just have to meet, I believe it's 20 feet the minimum
Right.
frontage.
Yeah.
So you just sort of, let's say for instance, in this case, the 10 feet is at the closest. You'd run the line and you'd have 5 feet on one side, 5 feet on the other.
Mhm.
And that's something that could be pursued if they chose to do so.
Okay. Can we make them aware of that? Like, you know, if you do this and they decide to separate them, you've got yourself a nice big problem.
Well,
Should we just mind our own business?
It doesn't really become a problem, you know what I mean? Because it's,
Yeah.
under the subdivision control law, a person could pursue those two options if they wanted to try and split this
Okay.
lot,
Yeah.
you know?
Tony, can you bring up the next site plan? All right. So here we are, application for a special permit from Brookside Realty LLC. So this, if you know, down next to Hanson Hardware, a little bit further past that, there is an existing home on a lot
It's vacant.
that my understanding is they want to take that and turn it into a duplex?
Yeah, so there's an existing dwelling here at 1407. They would put an addition on. That would become a duplex. And then they would put up a second duplex here.
I still don't understand where it's located. You have Progress Way, the hardware store.
You know the hot dog guy? The hot dog trailer guy?
Yeah,
Right there.
okay. So it's in between on the other side.
No, it's on that lot. Taking the existing house.
Okay, that clearing, okay, it's like a cape now.
Yeah, it's right.
Okay. And to build 3 structures there?
It falls within the flex overlay zone, so they could, under the zoning and the flex overlay, which is something that they can go through, pursue through zoning board, they can do this. It's up to the zoning board, obviously, to make the final determination, but they can, under the zoning bylaw, pursue this type of project.
Okay.
So I don't have my glasses on, but I do have a couple of concerns, and I don't know if that's something that we can deal with them, is the dry wells to the, you know, as we're looking at it to the left of Unit A, right? I can't see the distance between the building and the edge of the lot, but I believe that dry wells have to be a certain distance from the lot line. I don't know what that is, but I believe that that's true. So
it's 10
especially
feet.
under stormwater management, I think it's more than that. I think it's more like 20 feet. So, but I don't know, you know, I'm just guessing. So I just wonder if that's something that's worthy of looking at, is whether those dry wells should be relocated to a different area.
I'll double check the stormwater management guidelines. I know it's 10 feet from a foundation and
And that would be
I don't think they're 10 feet from there, and if I'm reading that right, it looks like 25 feet from the edge of the building to the lot line.
This will be another cut into a road that just got paved, correct?
Right.
no, they're actually utilizing the existing curb cuts. So there's an existing curb cut here,
Yeah, right there, proposed
and
water
there's,
service line.
and there's existing curb cut here. Are we asking about the curb cuts or the
No.
water service?
Yeah, to get the water service in, they'd have to go into the street.
Yes, I don't know what they could be using the bullet to try and basically get, bore under the road and tie in. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
that's
they're
what they
doing.
usually do.
Yeah.
So, and my other question is,
Oh, I see the existing curb.
what about buffer zone between Unit A and the lot line? I mean, seems to me like they've just,
There is a tree line here currently. I mean, there is filling. I don't know what's gonna end up happening with that tree line. I mean, obviously, there's filling here, so clearly, part of that tree line, or a good part of it, is gonna go.
right, well, the tree line goes right through the dry wells, which we all know is a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think, looking at this plan, the tree line is more likely gonna disappear or be vastly reduced.
Well, so I guess maybe the way to propose that is that the ZBA consider what kind of buffer zone they're gonna propose between the two lots.
And what does that
Because
show?
they're gonna have to take those trees down.
You say 24.8 feet between the two?
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, it's 24.8 feet between Unit A on the new proposed building to the property line.
Right, so I think the dry wells on that side are questionable at best, given the circumstance.
There's quite an elevation difference between, towards the eastern side, 1407, where that Unit C is proposed.
Yeah.
There's a huge elevation difference from that area all the way to the back of the lot.
Does it go up or down, Joe? I
Goes
can't see
down.
the numbers.
Yeah.
It goes down.
Right, so.
It's significant. Look at the topography lines. Look how
Right.
close they are, and then they start to span out.
Yeah,
That's-
you're about 81.
To 68. That's pretty significant drop off.
Yeah,
And does it
81
drop off
at,
into wetlands?
81 at the front of the house, and you're at about 76 at the back of the house.
So my concern under stormwater management would be, if that topography is dropping off, it's going toward the road, right? So what mitigation strategies do they have? Like, see where that second driveway is in front of Unit B, right? So if it drops off and hits that driveway, it's gonna go out onto the road. Take a left and go down to, Paul Benedato's house, just like the other ones in the area have in the past. So, for me, the concern is to make sure that all the water that's on that site stays on that site.
Well, go into the other development first.
It doesn't, it's gonna go down the road, basically, heading toward the river.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, what's the strategy to keep that stormwater from going out onto the road? That would be my question to them.
It goes down in the back of the lot.
It does go down the back.
Right,
Yeah.
it does not touch the
And
street.
does that, in the back of the lot, is that wetlands?
Can you pull it up on GIS?
There's no wetlands on the property.
No, but in the back of the property, we have the drop.
Yeah, in the back, there's no wetland shown on this lot. This is all upland.
But it continually goes down, correct?
Correct.
That's why they designed it with
That's,
that walk
it
out.
should be all sand and gravel, that should be.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, the site, if where the buildings are, right, and you have those dry wells where the buildings are, what's the topography heading from where those dry wells are sunk to the road, right? So the water's gonna go in those dry wells, and it's gonna go somewhere.
You have 85 approximately at the back of the driveway and 84 at the street.
85, so it's 84, 85, so it actually goes up.
Where do you see the 85 coming?
So this is proposed 85.
Oh, I got it, 85.
That's existing
That's
85.
proposed 85.
And that's
Okay.
84. So the road is going, this is high,
Yeah,
and it's going this direction. Going high to low.
and then it's 83, 82,
And there's
81.
83, 82.
So that must be
81.
the crest of Main Street then. That must be the crest where it's gonna go more towards Hanson Hardware than it is anywhere else.
Right.
So technically what's happening is any water that's coming down the road, this would come off-site and actually go onto their site.
Right, so the driveways have to be designed so that whatever is on the roadway doesn't.
Yeah, you would think that,
site.
you would hope that they would continue the gutter line
Yeah.
You know, so that prevents any water from coming off the road onto their site.
So I mean, that's a legitimate, consideration, right? So let them, make them aware of it. I don't know, I'm just,
I mean, going through the bylaws and looking at the plan, the only thing that I noticed that would be, not conform to the bylaw is that it says in the mixed use area zone that you're supposed to put your parking behind the building. You know, and this is in front. Beyond that, the plan content, it actually does conform to the plan content requirements.
I thought that we were gonna see the plan come in and have them use where that unit C was. There's a driveway, the existing driveway that's there that drives behind all of that road. I thought we were gonna see the driveway come in and go behind all of these, but they've done just the opposite.
yeah, but that would cost more money. Just doing more distance.
Pave that lower area, but that's where they wanna put the, septic.
I mean, what I could suggest on behalf of the board is that the ZBA
Mention
pass
that.
it along to a peer review for a determination regarding conformance to the zoning and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The only other thing I would suggest, Tony, is mentioning to them, the Brookside Realty LLC. It would be better understood who that was. There's a good possibility that it's not conforming with the new town bylaw, but we don't know, because we can't determine who's on the LLC.
Yeah, and the bylaw you're talking about is, developers are, let's say, and then starting a new project.
Right.
I have never been able to find that bylaw. I've looked it up and I've never been able to find it.
We'll get that to you.
So,
You know why? Because it was approved at town meeting, but it was never codified. That's the problem.
We're still waiting on the Attorney General to sign it?
I believe so.
yeah,
Okay.
I've never found it. So
Okay.
Do you wish to make a motion on, and vote on that at all, on this one?
Yeah, entertain a motion for the town planner to recommend that the ZBA pull in peer review for the application of this ZBA's Brookside Realty LLC construction on map 44, lot 49.
So, second.
Motion been made and seconded, made by Mr. Benoit, seconded by Mr. Cohen. Any discussions in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So once again, Tony, thank you very much for including these. And for the members of the ZBA, the reason for this is informational. It's so that we're all involved and we can better things moving forward instead of keeping ourselves in silos. So any of these discussions, we'd love to be able to entertain the ZBA at our meetings as well if they want to come in, or if we can go to theirs and talk. This is the start of being able to get some of that communication open. So thank you to the ZBA for listening to our concerns.
So can I just throw one quick thing
Mr.
before
Kevin.
we move on? On this one, right, you can see the results of this in front of Sawmill Lane, you know, that condo
Yeah.
complex that's up there, because you got a bunch of condos there.
Right.
And everyone's parked right out front.
They're right up front.
You know, so I don't know if that's a bad look or a good look.
Mm.
I never really thought about it. But anyway, just throw that out there.
Moving on, as far as administration goes, town planner update. Town planner.
Okay, we have a couple of invoices to pay this evening. One is for Dantas, and that is for part of the grant money for the pedestrian improvements. And the second is for the Whitman Hanson Express for the publishing of 2 public hearing notices related to the MBTA zoning. I'll move on. The expressions of interest for the 2025 Community One-Stop Grant Program have opened up. They've made the filing of these expressions of interest much easier. You can do it online. They've very much simplified the form. So what that'll do is you provide the ideas and what the costs are and where you think the grant, what grant it belongs to. They'll take a look at it, they'll give you feedback, they'll tell you what grant it should go to. So that's always, it's not a step that's required, but is very much recommended. They figure that they've figured out that about 77% of the grants that were funded followed that process, and I preferably like that process. Get it to them, get some feedback, you get an idea of where they stand, it gives you a good direction in how to move forward. So I've filed, there's no limit anymore, used to be 5, they've lifted that, so I actually filed 6 today.
6 more next week.
Well, you can file as many. Now, the thing is, obviously, depending on where they fall, you may have more than one project competing with each other. But I look at it, it's like, well, let's say you have 3 in the same, if you can get 1 out of the 3 or 2 out of the 3, great, you know, it's still a win.
Yeah.
So I've filed 6 of those. The other grants from last year, which one was 0 West Washington Street and the 40Y District, which is the starter home district. Those contracts for 0 West Washington Street, there's a contract that's been executed between the state and the consultant, which in this case is VHB. VHB is what's known as a house doctor, so they're certified through the Commonwealth, and so the Commonwealth organizations will pick these firms who have been certified and partner them with the municipality. So VHB will be taking on that job and doing a survey, establishing the resource area, percolation testing, and provide preliminary plans, engineered plans to show what the town could get out of that site, what it could yield, whether it's one business site or potentially if it's a business park or something similar to the industrial park. So that process is very early stages, but that contract's been executed. The starter home district grant, that contract's been executed with Verdantis. Again, early stages, but they'll be kicking that off soon. Warrants for the upcoming town meeting, we have 3. One is the increase in the administrative assistance hours from 19.5 to 22.5. That's been filed with the select board and the finance committee. Seeking funding for the housing production plan through the special town meeting. As you're well aware, the housing production plan will expire in May of 2024, and that assists with the affordable housing in town and also assists in certain grant opportunities. So I'm going to be seeking about $40,000 in funding for that, which is based on a quote from the company that had done the original or prepared the original housing production plan. The last one is the zoning regulations for the MBTA. Those were presented to the select board, who have in turn requested a report from the planning board. The first public hearing notice was advertised last Thursday. The second one will be this Thursday, and on the 26th of February, which will be the planning board's next meeting, we will have a public hearing to discuss those. I've also passed these bylaws up to town council for their review and have asked them to assist in reviewing those bylaws for conformance and recommendations, and also to assist in finalizing the language of the article. I've put in an article already that'll be in essence a placeholder, and I'd like town council to help take a look at that and make sure that all the right wording is in place. And I believe that's all I have on my list for this evening.
That was an upcoming public hearing of the select board?
The select board was last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah,
They have another before ours?
No,
Oh, good, okay.
no, so the select board, I met with the select board on the 6th.
Yeah.
They asked for the report on the 7th. The next step is for the planning board to prepare a report.
Comes back.
Correct, that'll happen on the 26th, and then we keep moving forward for the May town meeting. And that's all I have
Great.
at this time.
Next time, Mr. Kemet?
I just wanted to ask a quick question. I am planning on, at my next CPC meeting, having the town council come to us to discuss the possibility of a community housing trust, right? So that we can look at affordable housing. So I guess my question is, I'll be there as representative of the planning board on CPC, but I'm wondering if Tony would be interested in attending that meeting so that I'd value his input, at least.
And what's the
date? 21st. But it's tentative because I don't have an answer from town council yet as to whether they'll be coming. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, send me an email and, yeah.
Okay.
Next item of business on our agenda is for, right now, to motion for our next planning board meeting to be Monday, February 26th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. Benonato. Any discussion in regards to our next planning board meeting, February 26th, Monday, 2024? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's going to be our next planning board date. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Kemet, seconded by Mr. Ellis. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. It is 7:35.